Corsair has always made solid mice, but never excellent mice. The Corsair M65 is one of their most popular mice and continues to evolve from Pro to Elite to Ultra, which simply means they've updated the internals again and made some minor changes. But is it enough to live up to the name? Let's get nerdy. So I'm trying a new segment in my videos. Let me know if you like it or not. Also, I apologize for my voice. It's not super great. The Corsair M65 is packed full of juicy tech, starting with the Marksman sensor supporting 26,000 DPI, 650 IPS, and 50G acceleration, making it one of the best on the market. The primary clicks have Quickstrike Buttons, which is a fancy way of saying they're spring-loaded to deliver zero gap between the primary buttons and the switches, along with Omron optical switches that are immune to double click, which should lead to ultra fast and responsive clicks. It has dual wireless supporting both low latency Bluetooth and their Slipstream wireless that supports up to 2000 Hz Hyperpolling. All of this tech is inside a solid aluminum frame that sports 100% PTFE feet, 8 programmable buttons, dynamic RGB backlighting, and a tunable weight system coming in between 110 and 128 grams. Last, it comes with a unique 6-axis gyro and accelerometer to enable ultra low liftoff distance and tilt gestures. But does all this tech actually translate to a good product? Starting off with the clicks, which are probably going to be the most polarizing thing outside of the weight, I have some dye on my finger that I just simply cannot get off, so you're just gonna have to deal with it for this video. I apologize. The idea of Omron optical switches and Quickstrike buttons are great, but unfortunately don't translate well to the real world on this mouse. Optical switches mean they are activated by light, making them have 0 debounce delay and are immune to double clicks, making them very, very fast, which is accurate and actually works well in this, but things get muddy when we get to the Quickstrike buttons, as the idea is that they are spring-loaded, should lead to a very strong, consistent, and crisp click while removing any pre-travel from the button to switch for an immediate click. My first M65 had defective clicks, and my second are improved, but still very disappointing, as there is significant variance between the left and the right click. So much variance! My left click is very loud with strong spring back force, but also feels cheap, like it is loose even though it isn't. Where my right click has mild/moderate spring back force with a very quiet click. Travel time seems longer on my left click than my right, even though it isn't. Both clicks have almost no pre-travel and moderate post-travel with mild side wobble. All of this leaves me perplexed on what the heck I'm feeling, as it constantly feels like it's contrasting. It's crisp but mushy, solid but loose, loud but quiet. So in the end, I'm rating them a 5 out of 10. If you own this mouse, what are your clicks like? I'd love to discuss in the comment section below, as I'm 0-2. As for the rest of the clicks, I have no complaints and think they feel great. They have low pre/post travel with mild/moderate spring back force with no real wobble and almost silent clicks. All buttons are easy to reach and in the ideal position. Addition of the sniper button is appreciated and easy to reach with your thumb, no matter your grip style. The scroll wheel feel-wise is premium. It is covered in rubber and doesn't stick up much from the chassis. It has a very satisfying middle click that requires moderate/severe pressure to click with very little pre/post travel and strong spring back force. It has very dedicated steps that are smooth. It is very accurate when testing, as the distance I cover is always the same. However, the steps between each click are about half as long as the standard mouse, which means when I go to scroll on a web page, I go half as far as normal despite it feeling the same, which made me absolutely crazy until I figured out the cause, as I can never take crazy off the table, as I do spend hours in my room talking to myself to a camera. So depending on your current mouse, you may need to acclimate to this. I still think it's excellent, just wish it scrolled farther, which you can adjust in the software, but I didn't want to do this as I use a lot of different mice on a regular basis and didn't want to mess up those. The next elephant in this room is going to be the weight, both figuratively and literally, as it weighs a ton at 128 grams, depending on how many of the 6 included weights you choose to add, which wouldn't be a big deal except for the fact that it's marketed as an FPS mouse, yet weighs nearly twice as much as the leaders in that category. For example, the Starlight 12 is 45 grams, the G Pro Superlight is 63 grams, and the Viper Ultimate is 74 grams. So no matter how you cut it, this dude is hefty. Personally, this is a con, as I have flabby wrists and they get sore and tired after using this guy for a little while, meaning I may need to invest in a shake weight. But seriously, it's simply because of physics. You simply can't perform as good with this mouse as you can with a lighter one, as something with more mass makes it harder to start and stop with precision. I've noticed a decline in my aim because when I go to stop this mouse, it just wants to keep going. So I overshoot my shots, and due to constantly trying to over control it, I do feel some tension developing in the sides of my wrists. The only positive I can think of is if you are a high sensitivity player, a heavier mouse can be beneficial as it slows your aim down. But again, Again, this leads to less precision as you are covering less surface area, limiting your overall ability to make ultra fine adjustments. I think an ultralight version of this mouse would be absolute fire, but until then, those who enjoy using bricks for mice will be happy. You can adjust the 6-axis gyro and accelerometer in the IQ software if you can find it, as despite Corsair's best efforts, the IQ software for mice is still not user-friendly. But it looks good, and that's really what matters. Right? The sensors are accurate and fun to use, if not a little bit gimmicky. I mostly use it for single-player games and productivity work, as during competitive games, I found myself accidentally activating it when in the heat of battle when I'm whipping my mouse around, especially since I use low sensitivity. And I already suck enough, I don't need something else interfering with my gameplay. As for the 2000 Hz Hyperpolling, I'm torn, which has become a theme in this review. When I tested on the mouse polling rate checker, it shows 2000 Hz. I think it feels more responsive, which could also be placebo, but according to Tech Power Up, who reviewed the Corsair Saber RGB Pro, which has the same specs, it showed that 2000 Hz was fake and simply a repeat message, which leads to either A, Tech Power Up tested it incorrectly, B, Corsair's marketing is a lie and I don't understand how they can get away with that legally, or C, I'm missing something. Corsair is the only company who mentions 2000 Hz wireless, despite it being around for a while, which is abnormal as most companies are quick to copy something once it comes out. I haven't found anyone else that has done testing outside of the polling rate checkers, so I'm left on the fence, wondering what is true. So I'll let you decide, but if you have more information on this, I'd love to discuss in the comment section down below. Regardless, I wouldn't buy it for this feature alone. Let's take a few minutes to talk about the shape. The aluminum frame and build quality is excellent and feels solid without any flex or rattle, but it is stubby, meaning it is short and fat, so if you have bare hands, you'll match excellently. It is relatively flat with a slight hump on the back, while being slightly tempered to the right for some ergonomics. The right side is indented with some flair, letting your thumb sit comfortably. The right side pushes out. Both sides have textured rubber for grip. The matte texture on the top of the mouse picks up fingerprints like a boss. Seriously, it's impressive, as I never notice or care about this type of stuff, but this one sticks out like a sore thumb. In the end, I think it would be hit or miss for people. I think it's best for fingertip grip and then claw and then palm, depending on hand size. Aesthetically, it is very attractive and looks futuristic, meaning after you sprain your wrist in a horrific esports injury, you can use it like a paperweight and admire the sleek lines and attractive RGB lighting. Battery life is good. They report 90 hours with Slipstream and 120 hours with Bluetooth. As per usual, I'm way too lazy and have too much stuff going on to accurately test this. I charge it once every 7 to 9 days, depending on use, with RGB lighting on, which lines up closely with what they report. I didn't notice any drops with Bluetooth or Slipstream wireless, and I like when both are provided, especially at this price point. Found the switch on the bottom of the mouse to require a lot of force to move and difficult to get right in the middle without some fidgeting. I did it! Also, it doesn't come with an extender dongle, just this crappy rubber USB-C cord, which is very, very stiff, along with a USB wireless dongle, meaning if your PC is far away, that you will experience drops. For $130, not having a paracord or extender dongle is simply completely unacceptable, but at least it's USB-C and you can put the dongle in the mouse for travel. Moving on to the conclusion, unfortunately, my stance that Corsair makes solid mice but not excellent mice stands. The specs on this device are stellar, but it doesn't translate well to the real world, where I constantly feel like I'm gaining something only at the trade of something else. They continue to fall behind in weight, QA, and materials, preventing them from reaching the top spots. But they are moving in the right direction, and this mouse does more right than wrong, but there isn't anything spectacular to set it apart from the competition. It is simply too expensive for what you get, and think a price closer to $100 would be ideal. With that said, it feels great in the hand, except for primary clicks and weight, is highly attractive, built like a tank, has excellent specs, side button, scroll wheel, shape, size, battery life, and lighting, and out of all the M65 variants, this is by far the best. So if you enjoyed the shape, size, and weight in the past, you're in for an absolute treat. Otherwise, you'll have to decide if the cons mentioned are a big enough deal to you or not, as mice truly are personal preference. In the end, I'd give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. If you're wanting to stick with Corsair, I'd recommend going with the Saber RGB Pro, which I do find to be an excellent mouse and worth checking out. It's the only one that I actually like. I'll see you and your beautiful face on the next one. God bless and peace out.